the start line. Curtis White here from the
is razendsnel in dat trappelen.
and ready to go here in Bredenau, and we are underway. Van der Poel alongside Curtis White, Tonart right alongside him, and it's the American that gets a whole shot.
Dat was ronde 1 en op de laatste.
The coffee tasted good this morning. He's got a new podcast, In the Red. To see him with such a great start today, I know a lot of American fans are going to be really pumped by this.
All right, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of In the Red with Curtis White. I'm here with my friend Tony Seiler. We're talking about this past weekend, Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland, and a preview of the U.S. World Cups. We're in the thick of it in the U.S. cyclocross season. So let's dive right in. Tony, how's everything going?
It's a great week, man. I mean, we're in cycling fan paradise with the amount of racing that we got to watch this weekend. And you put us over the top on Sunday. So I was certainly frustrated on Saturday, but Sunday you brought it all back around. So I'm having a great start to my week.
Well, that makes two of us, but it definitely was a really not just an exciting week for U.S. cyclocross, but also just for cycling in general. The amount of racing that we saw on TV, on GCN, I mean, there were 6 big races over the course of the weekend. First ever women's Paris-Roubaix Saturday morning. Then you had the Ethias Cross in Mühlebeke. Then you had the C1 in Charm City. You can all watch it in GCN. So if you folks haven't subscribed to GCN, I definitely encourage you to do it. I mean, you're able to watch some pretty cool U.S. cyclocross races, but also some high-level road European cyclocross races. It's all there. And then Sunday, you had the men's Paris-Roubaix, the Super Prestige in Gieten. I think it's Gieten. But I don't know. I always joke around that Americans are exceptionally multilingual in their ability to mispronounce things.
No doubt about that. But yeah, there's so much racing. I haven't watched it all yet. Like, I got to spread it out throughout the whole week. I can't possibly cram that much racing into one weekend and see it all. So of course I was watching Charm City live, but then I've been kind of slowly consuming the rest of it. So hopefully I'll get some of the European races later in the week before this weekend, especially since we're going to see a bunch of those guys coming over to race. But yeah, it's been a crazy weekend to be a bike race fan. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So I sent out a tweet that if anyone was able to actually watch all 6 races over the course of the weekend, then hats off to you. If you watched all 6 live, you probably deserve more than just hats off or my praises. We'll give you a pair of socks or something. Shoot us a tweet and we'll hook you up. But watch, we're gonna get like a flood of tweets saying, hey, let's get a pair of socks from Curtis White here. Come on.
There you go. Did you manage to catch Paris-Roubaix yet, Curtis? Have you been able to see that since in your travel?
I watched the final 40K of the women's race on Saturday. I didn't watch the men's race. Sunday I was in the zone. I was shutting out all the other distractions.
You weren't watching any races on Sunday?
I watched Gieten. I don't know. I'm gonna pronounce it 4 or 5 different ways over the course of this podcast. But I did watch the Super Prestige. That was really exciting. The conditions in Europe, I mean, for Paris-Roubaix, but also for the Ethias Cross and the first round of the Super Prestige were epic. Really, really heavy, muddy races. And that was just so cool to see. We're waiting for those conditions in the U.S. Looks like we may get a little rain for the World Cup coming up in Waterloo this weekend, but fingers crossed. Because that we've done that course when it's been bone dry and dusty, and then it's been really, really heavy mud. So I'd love to get in a muddy race.
I know you love that. You love those conditions. I'd love to see racing them.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive into it. Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. Saturday wasn't fun. I don't know if it was fun for you. It wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah. That was a frustrating one, and that's something that I really don't. I'm not going to go into too much. I did have a mechanical on the start line. And it's something that we are looking into, but it's the best part about Saturday is that was from my end, that was a really solid effort of just chasing back. And I finished 9th on the day, but it was, it was a harder course. I knew there would be group racing in the front, and having that mental strength to convince myself that somehow I still have a shot of making it back up to the front. And I believe I said this in the last episode talking about Rochester, and then I saw this also in Roanoke, but it seems to me that this year, the spectators and the fans, the US fans coming to the races, there's more of them coming. There's more of them on site at these events and races. And the energy is just so, it's motivating. It truly is. And there were parts of the course at Charm that felt like there was like a wall of noise, like along the club row, after the barriers, up the start finish straight. It was so exciting to see. I mean, we're not a big time European race, or there's a lot of those races in Europe that still attract a lot of fans, more fans than the US, but this is something that we're really excited about in the US. We have this new series, the TV coverage. And then from what I see, I'd love to, if there was a way to track this, it would be really cool if, the US races were selling tickets and they could track how many tickets they sell, but they don't do that. From what I see, it's noticeable that there are more fans and spectators coming to the races, and
That's great to hear.
I was cheering it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because on the live feed, it was hard to tell what the turnout looked like for Charm City. I was at Rochester. The turnout was phenomenal. One of the bigger crowds, I think maybe the biggest that I've seen there. So that was great. So I was going to ask you how that looked at Charm City, because it was hard to see with the way that the coverage was shot for it. But the energy had to be helpful when you're in that position right away. You snap a chain, I guess we got too much power, man. We got to work on making titanium chains or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you make them out of, but
too much power is that's not a bad problem to have.
I was like, man, you don't have to give them a head start, dude. Like, I know you're feeling strong, but we don't got to give everybody a head start. But the effort was great. And it was a great example that you set for young people watching, for riders watching, of like, we don't quit, right? You are literally starting dead last. I don't know how much time you lost total on that. And you claw all the way back up to 9th place. It was a phenomenal effort, and a great example that you put out there. So as much as it's not the result you want, I think that's a nice thing to put forth for people when you're in that particular position. And I watched it for the first time. I watched it. I was in the barn doing some work and watching it at the same time by myself and swearing and throwing things. And then the second time I watched it the next morning with my daughter. And we talked about it. He said, look, he had some bad luck here and he's not giving up. And this is why you don't quit, no matter what. You go through and you finish it. So I appreciate that you set that example. And I think a lot of people did. I saw a lot of that on social media.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And we're obviously fighting for results still in the standings of the series, and we have TV coverage, and we want to be at the front fighting for the win of these races. But it's also our job as racers is to continue to promote the sport that we love through good, bad, and otherwise. So to have that, I guess, a moment of character to continue to push forward. And it was awesome to have the fans on the side of the course, providing that motivation and encouragement. Something that I heard, I have no idea who said this, but someone just said, stay positive. And so all I had running through my head for the rest of the hour was, you know what? I'm getting better World Cup prep than anyone else here. But I have faith in the training I've been doing, in my team, in my mechanics, and my technique, my form, all the work that's gone into this effort. It's cyclocross. Things happen. So all I could do is press forward and continue to bring my best into every opportunity that I have. So
I would think that the harder mental game of that is, as much as it was probably hard to do what you did, you're still in the moment and in the race after the race. And now you've been through 3 difficult races in a row. And you got to come back on Sunday. What do you do? What do you tell yourself Saturday evening onto Sunday morning about how you recalibrate again after not one, not two, but three tough outings where you got to be frustrated?
It's a fresh opportunity. I had to just start with a clean slate, and it's a fresh opportunity it was a new opportunity for me to bring my best into a new day, into a new race. And I felt like on Sunday I was able to compete up to my potential. I was making good decisions. My team and I have been working really hard to make sure everything's dialed, and just, I mean, even with the fit on the bike, making sure it's just having full confidence in the process and what I'm doing. So that was really huge. And I did come into Sunday with complete confidence in what I was doing. And that really led the effort, having that clean slate and just say, hey, look, forget everything before today. It just, what are you doing this moment right now? How can you improve your position in this moment? You're in the hunt.
Yeah. And it came through.
Get ready to go in for the kill. That's all it was.
You appeared very, very composed on Sunday. You didn't, you were patient when you needed to be patient. You went through a race of, Powers called it a race of attrition many, many times throughout the feed. And you seem to really encompass that throughout the process of that race, where you let guys go where they needed to and covered where you needed to. Can you break down sort of what it looked like from your end? I mean, we see it from a certain perspective from the feed, but how does that play out in terms of Brunner going right away, and then the way that the pace stays hot and you're able to stay patient and dwindle it down until you get down to those last three, and how that plays out for us?
Yeah, it was. So to give everyone a little bit of a background, if you weren't in Baltimore on site at the course, the park has this natural bowl shape to it. So everywhere from the start finish, you kind of there's elevation away from the start finish. So there's quite a bit of elevation on this course. There always seems to be group racing tactics, unless if it's a muddy or a washout race. If it's dry, fast, and dusty, it's very, very difficult to win solo or go for a day-long break, because it's the course, to be honest, yes, there is elevation, but it's not that selective of a course. And this year, the production was really high for this course and this venue. All the folks behind Charm City did a fantastic job promoting this event and producing a high-quality product. And that's something that I think us racers definitely want to see it, the teams, but the spectators, the fans, and the viewers want to see this as well. I believe Chris Auer, the promoter, said that they had 1 mile of barricades lining the course, which is, I mean, that's a lot, but it gave that professional feel, and you could just feel like this was a national championship caliber or World Cup caliber infrastructure that they had. And they used the park to the best of their ability. Saturday was hot, but Sunday was hotter. I believe it was 85 degrees. It felt warmer than that. There was humidity. It was dusty. It just, and in that sense, it was a race of attrition. It wasn't that it was this slogging diesel effort like a Dendermonde where you're in shin deep mud. No, it was, you had to battle the element of the heat, stay hydrated, stay cool. I was getting water dumped on me at certain parts of the courts by my team, and those little things help. So I really had to make sure that the core temperature was staying low. I started with a couple ice socks in my back. I had a bottle on my bike. And over the years, I've learned little tricks of the trade that I need to do certain things to manage the heat well. So came into the race doing everything that I could to control my environment, stay cool, get the ice socks ready, stay hydrated, drink all the scratch that I should be. And I started a bit slower. I believe I was 9th or 10th wheel. Kerry was around where I was. I saw Vincent Bastens had a good start. Stephen Hyde had a good start. Eric Bruner had a good start. Gage Hecht had a good start. But I had faith in my ability to, at any point, I could close a gap if I needed to. The course wasn't super selective in that, if someone gets away, that's it. So I felt as though I could ride myself into the front of the race over the course of a couple laps. We did see that, I believe it was the second lap, that Scott McGill and Eric Bruner took a flyer. And that was a really interesting dynamic for the race, because I was looking at Vincent. Vincent was looking at me. We were looking at Hyde. We were looking at Kerry. Everyone, we were comfortable with those two riders going up the front, because we weren't going to give them 30, 40 seconds, but 10 seconds is manageable, especially on that course. And it's the second lap of a 9-lap race, and it's 85 degrees. You're extending the effort pretty soon there. So I think we all kept a manageable pace, kept it consistent. I was on the front for half a lap, and Vinny was on the front. A couple riders came through just to kind of manage the pace. And we caught those riders a few laps later, but we didn't want to do these massive surges quite yet. It wasn't until Blevins came to the front, I believe with 4 laps or 5 laps to go, maybe, that things really started to get explosive. And at that point, you have to react. You can't be thinking about preserving. Like, all the preservation work should be done at that point. When someone like Chris Blevins comes to the front, you're digging as deep as you can to react. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, that was exciting. It was great to see him come through and go right away and really pick the pace up. And then you reacted really well to that and kind of went right after him. What are you thinking at that point? Are you thinking this is great, I want this to happen, I'm happy with him, keeping it hot here? Or like, what's the mindset there?
So I just to kind of start this off, that I think as an athlete, I think the really cool part about having the TV coverage now is that as an athlete, I can go back and analyze the race, rewatch what happened, what went on. And Saturday, I wasn't at the front of the race. I was chasing back. I could see what was going on from a distance, but I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on me against the course, putting out and gaining back as much time as I can and having the best race that I could at that moment. But later that night, I was able to go back and watch the footage, and I could see how these riders were riding. I saw that Basten's got a gap, 4 laps to go or 5. It was, I don't know exactly when, but it was a ways out. And I saw that once he got a well-established gap, he was able to conserve it. He wasn't going into the red to try and grow it. And he wasn't concerned in the last couple laps. Kerry and Hyde were coming back strong, and they put out a couple really fast last 2 laps. But it was something that Vincent could manage. And he was able to conserve that energy for the next day. I saw how Blevins was riding. He seemed to be on the limit a little bit more on Saturday. I saw how Gage was riding. I was able to pick up these small little things from the Saturday coverage, and I used that for Sunday. And what I saw when Blevins came to the front, he was a different rider on Sunday. And I think he said that too in his interviews after the race, that he felt like he had more fight in him. He felt better physically. And I believe when Blevins went, we had just caught Eric Bruner and Scott McGill, and Bruner was between Blevins and I as Blevins started to pick up the pace. And that was, bells are ringing in my head that I had to get around Bruner. And he's a great rider, but he also just came back from being off the front for a couple laps.
Right.
And Blevins he's at a very high level. Technically, he's a very good rider, and he's not no one in that group would feel comfortable giving him any space.
So what did you learn racing with him now for the first time? What did you observe about his strengths and weaknesses racing cyclocross? I know he said this is it for the season. We thought maybe we might get some more of him, but hopefully maybe next year. But what are some observations you had now that you got to go out and really throw down with him for a while?
He races cross like a mountain biker. I mean, I don't have to be imaginative about it, but I mean, it's, I'm not trying to, be a wise guy here, but he kind of does. And I could pick that up from, Vincent was able to pick this up too, tactically and how he was handling his bike. He's a very good bike handler. I mean, we've all seen videos of him on the cross bike doing these really cool tricks, going upstairs, wheelies, things he does in the mountain bike or BMX bike. Like he can drive a bike very well, and he has this very explosive power. But there are parts of the course that you don't see features like this in a mountain bike race. Like on day 2 on Sunday, we had this really steep power climb up to the off camber right by the mansion, and it was the highest point in the course. And you could see that he was approaching this feature like he was on a mountain bike, whereas on a cross bike, the lower the gear that you have, the more traction you have. If you're spinning out more, that's when you start to lose the traction. And it's already the ground surface was already chattered out enough from coming down that hill the day before. It was getting chattered out from the brakes. It was dusty. There's some slick parts to it. It was kind of hard to find traction in some parts of that hill. So you needed to approach it with this deep power. And that's something that cyclocross athletes train on a regular basis. And I think something like that you saw, or even bunny hopping. There's a certain bunny hopping technique that cyclocrossers have, and Blevins was able to bunny hop really well, but you could just tell it was like kind of sending it off a drop almost. It wasn't this, it was a little bit different, the technique. If you looked at someone who, Vincent or Stephen Hyde, who are very good at bunny hopping versus Blevins' technique, you could see that, all right, that's a mountain biker right there. Because that's the technique you kind of use when you're going off a drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are a couple things like that, and that's not to take away his effort at all. It's just those are little things that we picked up on how he was riding these things. But then tactically too, I think it was very clear that it came down to that last half lap, and Vincent and I were able to establish that the off camber was the most crucial part of the course. Chris was leading into that hill feature, and Vincent and I gave everything we had to come around him, and we both came around him. I came around the left and Vincent was on the right. Mm-hmm. And then Blevins went from first to third wheel, and I think he bobbled on the off camber, and that was a critical point in the race. And even if you're the strongest person in the group, if you're going third or fourth wheel into a feature like that, it's difficult to come back from that. So that's something that having done so many cyclocross races and analyzing courses like this and features like that, and going against a high level guy like Vinny, that it's just something that I think that was a little bit more natural to he and I.
Yeah, that's interesting. It'd be interesting to see him race some more and see how he made adjustments off that. Obviously, he's a super high caliber racer and isn't going to continue to make mistakes like that, and is going to learn from those things with time. So it'd be interesting to see how he adjusts. But I got kind of the same question for you about Vincent. I know we're not going to see that same battle because of the way the start list changes this weekend. But I would have loved to see you in a similar field with him again. You've had the closest competition with him. He's taken all 4 races so far that he's been here, but you made it close on Sunday, and you've really lost 2 opportunities of the 4 to compete with him at the front of the race. So I'm wondering what you learned on Sunday about competing with him, and how do you beat him? Like how does one of you American guys take something from him?
Yeah, I mean, Vincent he's been around the scene for a while. He's been coming to the US for a while. I believe that we have beaten him on US soil in the past, but from what I see, he's at a high level this year, higher than he perhaps has been in the last couple of years. I believe he's 32, so he's a mature racer. He's been, and he learns from the best. He's on a routine basis training with other higher level athletes. And we've said this in podcasts before, but that's really the biggest difference between American athletes and the Belgians and the Dutch, where to be successful, you need to keep placing yourself around other successful or more successful people. That goes for life and sport and everything. So that's something that they're not born stronger than us, but they're able to train at a consistently higher level, or with people that are better than them. And that's something I feel like I've upped my technical game quite a bit. And power wise, I'm very confident in my abilities, but someone like Vincent, he's a very seasoned racer, and you could tell in his interviews, he was very open about some of his tactics and the thought that he put into letting Eric Bruner and Scott McGill go up the road, because it, how he was playing the long game, or when he's leading a group, he's at 95%. He doesn't want to be 100% leading a group like that. When he's 100%, he's solo, because, if someone comes around him, he wants to ensure that he has the ability to respond, and he can do that at 95%. But when you're already at the limit, at your max at 100%, it's sometimes when the move goes by you, or someone has more momentum than you, all you can do is watch. And that's the most frustrating thing. So how he doesn't put himself in compromising situations. He's a seasoned racer. So I think things changed quite a bit for the World Cup. As we saw the start list, we're recording this Tuesday evening. The World Cup list was just announced, and man, it is stacked. For the men's side, we are missing 4 names. 2 of them competed in Paris-Roubaix. One won a gold medal at the Olympics earlier this year for mountain biking. One was the Belgian champion a couple of years ago for cyclocross. And it's just, I mean, everyone who's showing up is at a really high level, and it's going to be a completely stacked field. I'm really excited to have everyone come to the US, and, we have Waterloo, Fayetteville, and Iowa City. It's 3 World Cups packed into a week. But it completely changes the tactics, where you're just going to be on your limit for the entire race, and there's less room for tactics. You need to give the attention to pre-riding the course and racing the course well, but you're not going to have these moments of reprieve or sitting up and positioning in the group, because it's going to be so fast from the get-go, and there's always going to be someone in front of you that you're trying to catch. So there's going to be less setting up. You're going to be on the limit the entire time, and it's up to you to really ride these courses well, and hold a really fast wheel doing it. So for the World Cups, it's less about racing someone like Vinny or racing Kerry, or it's just focusing on what you can control and reacting to what's in front of you and bringing your best to the start line, because there's a lot of really high level guys there, and it's even on the women's side. There's not a lot that are missing.
No, yeah, both start lists. I was just looking at it before we started. We were on. I was on the Substack there from CX Hairs. They do a nice job putting out the info, and I was looking through. It's deep on both sides. It's exciting. Just for people who don't know, what's the schedule? There's 3 races this weekend. So can we watch all 3? Do you know? Or GCN is GCN Friday, Saturday, and Flow Bikes is Sunday? Is that right?
Well, no. So this weekend coming up is the Waterloo World Cup. So they have a C2 on Friday, day off of racing Saturday. I think on site They have the Legends race and a couple things going on. Then the World Cup on Sunday. If we're lucky, we'll get a little bit of the drive done Sunday night as we head down to Fayetteville. It's a long drive. I think it's a little bit over 10 hours, but we're going to do the travel. Most of the travel is going to be that following Monday. Setting up shop Tuesday, getting everything tuned up, course pre-ride in Fayetteville, get the openers done. Wednesday, race Fayetteville World Cup. Thursday, book it up to Iowa City. The Jingle Cross races are part of this USCX series. So Friday is the C2. Friday night is the C2. That will be televised, I believe. Saturday is going to be the C1. A lot of people use that race as their opener for the World Cup if the World Cup is their biggest goal. And then Sunday is the World Cup, which is obviously not a part of the USCX series. So if you were to do all of these races starting Friday to 2 Sundays later, you have 6 race opportunities in it. I mean, that's really cool to see, but it's an intense racing period. And we see schedules like that for the curse period in December in Belgium, when there's just so much racing going on then.
Right.
The difference there is that all the races are an hour away.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're getting like an American curse period, except you got to travel American distances.
There's going to be 20 hours driving over the course of the week, just to
That's
get
crazy.
from Madison to Fayetteville to Iowa City. And that's something that logistically, it's a huge thing to get over. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a packed full week. So we were fortunate enough. I believe, well, we had a couple riders ending up on the podium. Clara won Saturday. Katie Klaus was third on Saturday. Then second and third on Sunday. I was second on Sunday. So we walked away with some very good, tasty adult beverages as prizes, which that I believe that'll keep the mechanics very happy and primed as we head towards this very busy period.
Speaking of Katie Klaus, she had a great weekend. I think she's the only Cannondale team member that hasn't been on the podcast before. Like, are you having trouble booking her? Do you need me to like put in a call or something? Like, you think you could schedule that? I mean, she's killing it, man. Is she blowing you off? Is that the problem?
No. She's not blowing me off. She, she is very busy. She's a student athlete. She balances her academics with sport, and she has a lot of responsibilities racing on the road as well. That was a schedule that I'm very familiar with, but we've been trying to call her for months now. Unfortunately, she missed last season due to, I believe she had a dislocated shoulder and wasn't able to come to Europe, and there were some complications there. But we've been trying to book Katie Klaus, and she's a very interesting and exciting person to talk to. But I'll keep trying to get her on the show, and she has a bright future in front of her, and she's already had some really strong rides this season. So fingers crossed. Katie, if you're listening to this, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah, and fans, you guys want to hear from her? Maybe you guys should hit her up on social media. Tell her she should take Curtis's call, because we'd love to have her on the show. But he's having trouble booking her, so I don't know. I guess we got to do a little better job on that end, huh?
Exactly.
All right. So what else do we need to know? We'll hopefully hear from her very soon. What else do we need to know for this crazy schedule coming up? We got some fan questions. I want to make sure we get to those. But anything else about the schedule or Charm City that we haven't hit that you want to make sure that we know about?
I think that covers most of it for Charm. I think on the women's side, we had some really exciting racing. I was really excited to see my teammate Clara Hansinger get the win and the C1 on Saturday. She's riding so strong, and she had a really good start on Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk in the press and the media or on social media about Clara's starts, and she was able to get good starts both days this weekend. And I think that shows that when she's at the head of affairs, that she has a ton of potential in these races. So, and I believe the gap was massive on Saturday. She's such a strong rider. Technically, she's very good. Actually, today we did a really cool, it was 50 degrees and raining here in Beverly. So they're staying in town for over the last couple of weeks. So we've been able to train together, and I'm excited I've been showing them all the roads and trails, and we went on an endurance cyclocross ride just to kind of, get sliding around. It's so much better to be riding on the trails than on the roads when it's 50 degrees and raining, just to get that time in. So, and plus, if you're able to practice your skills in a fun way, just that's the best way to do it. So she came out on a training ride today, and that was a ton of fun to see. So, yeah, great rides by her and Katie this weekend. And then, moving on to the World Cups. So I think everyone's on really good form. So we're looking forward to some exciting things. I have been following the weather a little bit. You can only trust the weather so much this far out. But from what I've been seeing is that there are chances for rain this Thursday and Friday. 60% on Friday. There is that C2 race at Waterloo. So maybe that'll tear up the course a little bit, and then 60% on Sunday. Doesn't look to be too hot, 73 degrees both days. Who's to say? It could go either way. It could be a washout. It could just be overcast. But we'll see. We're ready for anything.
All right. Well, I'm hoping you're racing in the mud. Make for good entertainment for me while I'm on my couch. I don't have to be in it. So
I'm glad. I'm glad that we keep you entertained. Is that
Yeah,
I hope
you
you're not
do.
able to you don't have to get up too many times to turn the light on or get some food or just I want
Just-
to make sure you're comfortable, Tony.
Good. Yeah. Just to get up and to get a New Year Curtis every once in a while and, stay entertained. So it's good. Works out all right.
They're gonna need to start their third batch pretty soon.
I imagine. Yeah. They got to keep it going. They sold so many last weekend. I don't know if you can find it anymore. I got one left in my fridge. So I gotta restock.
That's exciting. That was really cool to see. Everyone I saw, all my friends and family from the Albany area, or people that I grew up racing with, or it was a great atmosphere, and to have that at Rochester was really cool. So yeah, you got to stock it back up.
Gotta
All
get
right.
that New Year Curtis. All right, band questions. So first one says, it seemed like a lot of the pros were on mids when a lot of the top juniors, masters, open riders were on files. We're talking about tire choice here. So was that due to higher speeds on the course, or did you feel that you needed additional traction over rolling resistance? So this was a rider who was at the race, and his observation was that the pros seemed to be riding a little heavier tread than some of the amateurs. Was this the same? Did you have the same observation, or how did that work, Curtis?
So I was running the Challenge Grifo at a little bit higher pressure. I was running, I believe, 27, 28 PSI, I believe. And that's not too far out of the ordinary for me, but there were some really hard packed sections of this course. There were a couple harsh transitions from what we saw. There was that new addition, this really cool addition of the flyover right before the finish with the stairs. You remount quick, take a hard right. It's a steep drop onto the pavement. They were able to smooth out that transition, but it's a harsh transition, and you're able to really, it kind of slaps the rim against the pavement. So you needed something that was a little bit higher pressure, but also a tread that was able to find traction. I know that Katie and Clara both were running file treads, which is not out of the ordinary on that course. But a Grifo is something that it's an all-around tire. It's something I'm comfortable racing. That was more of my personal choice. I did see quite a few of those tires out there, or the equivalent of a Grifo. Yeah, I mean, we are going a little bit higher speeds and approaching these features at with more momentum. So that is a contributing factor, I think, too.
All right. How about second question here is, did Blevins in the late selection change your tactics?
Yeah, absolutely. And having someone like Blevins in the race was really exciting because I've raced against Hyde, Carey, Gage, Bruner, all of these guys at a high level for so long that I really do know their strengths and weaknesses. And Blevins is someone that is new to the scene. I mean, he's done cross races in the past. He's been the under 23 national champion. He's done cross races, and he's certainly a fan favorite. He obviously competing at a high level, winning the Snowshoe World Cup, and there was a lot of excitement and chatter around him with the press, and he added this excitement factor to the race. And I think a guy like him, the U.S. cyclocross scene benefited from having him there. To race against him was, I had to take the time to figure him out, how he was riding, but it became clear that he liked to, if he had the chance, he liked to dictate from the front. He liked to set the pace from the front, because the positioning was an important piece of that course. And there was a little bit of an accordion effect, maybe not as much as Rochester, but the riders in the front are able to break less and carry more momentum out of these corners and transitions than, say, the rider in 6th or 7th. So you have to, if you're that far back, you have to have the maturity and the experience to know how to ride that accordion and not kind of jam up on the rider's wheel in front of you, giving them the appropriate amount of space, but also protecting your space to not get chopped on the inside or have other people pass you, so you're not falling behind. But when it's go time and in the final 4 or 5 laps and the selection is being made, if Blevins makes a move or just twitches, you respond to that. And it's the same with Vinny. You don't want to give anyone an inch here. So it was not tactically so much, but it was seeing where they were riding the course really well and where they weren't. What were their strengths and weaknesses? Something that I picked up on that both Blevins and Vinny were bunny hopping the barriers at a good speed. I'm a very fast runner. I'm always been confident my remounts and dismounts over the barriers. Maybe that's the reason why I haven't gotten so comfortable bunny hopping, but that's something I wasn't doing this weekend. I saw it made a bit more of a difference in Rochester. I was able to stay really fast on my feet. But I knew that, especially in the last lap, the reason why we were fighting for that top off camber was because if we could win the exit of the off camber, the barriers are 45 seconds later, and there aren't a lot of passing opportunities. You're able to really line things out, stay ahead of the wheel behind you. And I felt like if I could lead into the barriers, I had a really good shot at the finish. But Vinny was able to come around me right at the coming into the off camber. We had that steep power climb. We passed Blevins. I was on the left. Vinny was on the right. We knew that that was a critical part of the course. I had won the final corner, and there was Vinny was able to cut the corner at the top of the off camber just better than me. And that was a line that I took earlier in the race, but I had a difficult time finding traction. And I had to put a foot down earlier in the race. So I thought to myself that I needed to kind of arc the transition to the off camber a little bit more, because it's too tight and you have to go across the apex and you can't find traction there. So Vinny was able to find traction. He's a very experienced and technically proficient rider. It's not surprising that he did. It was a mistake that I made. I didn't close the door on him there, but he was able to make the pass, get in front of me before the end of the off camber. And then he won the barriers. And I think when Blevins went back to third wheel, he was scrambling a bit more, because that's a really difficult position to be in when you're that late in the race. And there's bells ringing, there's lights flashing, it's go time. And if you went from first to third wheel in the blink of an eye, you're trying to make that up. It's very difficult to do. So Vinny and I were able to get the separation there. He won the barriers. That gave him an extra 2 bike lengths. And I just, that was something that I couldn't bring back. So, tactically, those are the biggest things that I was thinking of. I knew that Blevins had the power to do it, to win the barriers. I just knew that I needed to jump on him, and Vinny knew that as well. So that was tactically, those are the biggest things that I was thinking about.
Interesting. You may have kind of answered this, but maybe a little bit less directly. And I like this question because it was something I thought of as well. So I was glad. My friend Jason texted me this today and asked me to make sure that I asked you this, and I was glad he did. So it says, do you feel that not riding the barriers made the difference on Sunday? So, you talked about a few spots there with Vinny and the mistake you made on the off camber, but do you feel if you would have ridden the barriers that you're staying close there and you can take that down to a sprint and have a chance, or not? What do you think?
Potentially. But hopping the barriers is something that I'm confident in it at a little bit lower height. But bunny hopping proficiently at a full 40 centimeter is something that I'm training every day. It's something I was training today. I'll train it again tomorrow, just as a part of our cyclocross skills session that we have going up here in the North Shore. It's something that I try to work on that every single day, but it's how do you have that confidence on race day? So I'm getting there. I feel like it's something that I'll be able to comfortably do over the next couple weeks. We are still getting into the cyclocross season and kind of getting the motions back. I feel like there was a slight advantage if you were able to do it very well. Vinny is a very technically proficient and good bunny hopper. So he was able to get 1 or 2 bike lengths. But again, still, I had faith in my ability, and I almost kept the gap the same coming over the barriers, but he was able to get on the pedals. Maybe going over the barriers, I could run just as fast as him, as he was bunny hopping, but he's on the pedals accelerating one stroke before me.
Mhm.
And that's just a little bit more momentum that he has that I don't at that particular moment.
How do you get comfortable doing something like that at race pace in a race? Like, what, for people who might be training a similar skill, you know, I can see the ability to maybe do that in practice all day long, but then to do it in a race where you can make a big mistake, whether it be an injury or damage to the equipment or whatever else. What do you do as an athlete to make that type of transition?
So just to give everyone a little bit of a, an idea of what I do for training, for our skill session, we have logs that we prop up, or something that can fall down pretty easily, or something that's a bit more rounded to hop over. I also have barriers that I've made out of PVC that fall over very easily. So very low consequence obstacles to hop over. And something like a PVC barrier, if you knock it over, it's fine. If you hit it, whatever. But I also, those are something that I'm very confident with my approach to those and hopping them. But yeah, that race situation is totally different because you're under pressure, and sometimes you don't always have the lines that you want, or the approach is a little bit different, or there's traffic. But it's just, at some point, you just got to bite the bullet and just say, you know what, I got to do this. To win this race, this is something that I have to do, or to save energy, this is something that I have to do. And the level right now is so high because a couple, in the Sven Nys years, you saw that Sven was really the only guy, or one of the only guys, to be bunny hopping at a high level. Now it was a real novelty back then.
Right.
And over the last few years, you're seeing more and more people, and you're seeing several of the women now bunny hopping at tall barriers and at a high level. And that's something that's going across different categories. And it's something that we need. All cyclocross athletes should be training regularly, because it's no longer a novelty. It is a tool that you need in the toolbox.
All right. So last one we got. I like this one. This is a good one. How stoked are you for 3 World Cups?
Oh, I'm wicked stoked. Wicked stoked. I love that word, stoked. You got to feel the stoke. When I was out in Colorado, everyone said that. I feel like in the New England area, not a lot of people say stoke.
No,
unless they're shredding some gnar and they're wicked stoked.
Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty heavy bike word that we've sort of taken of the last few years for some reason. It comes out, it seems to come out a lot lately, but that's all right.
Yeah,
stoke,
like gnar, shred, all of it. No, I'm really excited for these World Cups. And to try something new, like at the Fayetteville course, we have the World Championships coming, but just to see what that course is going to be like, what the venue is. A couple of years ago, we raced the C2 weekend there, and it's going to be a totally different venue. There's totally different features. They've done some trail building and construction to that venue, and there's new infrastructure. I'm just excited to see what it's going to be like. So that's going to be the preview for the World Championships coming up at the end of January, later this season. There's going to be a lot of travel involved, but it's an opportunity for us to show the world how cool and unique U.S. cyclocross is. So if you are in the area or you're able to come watch live, I definitely encourage you to come. It's going to be an absolute blast. Come say hi, ring some cowbells, cheer for us. And if you're not able to come, tune in to the Race Pass on GCN or whoever's, maybe Flow Bikes is covering the World Cups.
Yeah,
but
I think I think Flow Bikes has them. I hate to say it because you ever listen to the Slow Ride podcast? You listen to these guys?
A couple times, yes.
Yeah, so they're all right. I like them. They're funny. I thought maybe I shouldn't trust their information so much though. So I got a little bone to pick. I was going to send them an email, but I figured I'll just air it out here. It's easier than sending an email. So I was listening to their podcast, and this dude calls himself Little Guy. He usually seems pretty reliable, but I swear, maybe I misunderstood him, so I apologize if I did, but I swear he said that Paris-Roubaix was on Flow. So I signed up for Flow, $150 for this thing, right? So I renewed it. I wasn't going to do it. Renewed it. And turns out Paris-Roubaix is not on Flow. So I didn't get Flow this weekend. So Little Guy owes me $150, I think. But come and you can Venmo me if you want. But come to find out, I believe Flo is carrying the World Cup, so I would have paid for it anyways. I guess, you know, maybe we can split the difference. You can send me $75 or something. But that really mounted my frustration on Saturday because I paid for that Saturday, couldn't watch the women's Paris-Roubaix. There was some technical difficulties in the GCN feed for the women's Charm City, so I wasn't seeing that. So Saturday was a frustrating day. Sunday, you brought it back around for me though. So that's my weekend, man.
See, Tony, we're trying to keep things very neutral, tranquilo. We're not trying to pick any bones with people, but man, you came out swinging.
What am I going to do? I'm just trying to watch the races, you know, like where am I finding this thing? I sign up here, sign up there. I'm trusting these guys on this slow ride. You know, normally I love those guys. They're funny. I get it. But I just, you know, I don't know, man. I think you owe me some money, but we'll see.
You know just as well as I do that if they pay up, that's going right to some New York Curtis beers.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Wow. All right. Anything more we need to cover?
No, that's it. I just want to air my personal grievances at the end.
Yeah. You know, journaling also works.
Yeah, it's not quite as satisfying though.
With that, before we wrap up, just want to give everyone a couple quick reminders. If you haven't done so yet, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. Those things help us grow the show and hopefully take this to the next level. We want to get the word out. We want to get some sponsors involved. And we love talking about cyclocross to you folks. So anything that you can help us do, get those algorithms going. I don't know what the algorithms do. Tony, you probably have a better idea of what those algorithms do. I don't. But all those things help. So really appreciate that. And we want to hear from you and get some feedback from you folks. So if there's things we can do to improve, any thoughts you have, feedback, things you'd like us to cover or things you'd like to hear, please feel free to reach out. We have an email inthered@curtisjwhite.com. Go through my contact page on my website or feel free to reach out on social media. That's a way to get us any of those channels. So thank you for your support. Tony, take care. Have a great week. And we're looking forward to some really exciting racing and the World Cups. So next up, Waterloo. Take care.
Awesome to see him with such a great start today. I know a lot of American fans are going to be really pumped by this.